This is the Convene podcast.
Welcome to another Convene talk. Jen, go for it.
Thanks, Maggie. So I thought it would be interesting to chat about an interesting article I saw written by Skift writer Barbara Scoffietto, which was published, I think, last week. It was called Both Planners and Suppliers Agree. There are too many industry events. This is pertinent because we have one of our industry's biggest shows kicking off this week in Vegas, IMEX. But I thought it was interesting topic. I read through the article and I was kind of surprised to see that there was not necessarily everyone agreed on their answer. So some people thought, there's way too many industry events, it's exhausting, there's no way I could possibly attend all of these, while others, particularly suppliers who I think are based in sales, said that they would actually like more. So I'll break it down a little bit. The article points out that there's about 52 global industry events annually. And this is according to Skift's own calendar. And that doesn't necessarily include things like FAMs and invitation-only customer events, all the different ancillary events that we see happening in our industry. So essentially, that means that if planners wanted to, if they wanted to attend the major events, the major shows like IMEX and got to plug our own convening leaders, they could attend one a week on average, which is quite a lot. So she pointed out that someone in the industry conducted an informal poll on their LinkedIn profile and found that 88%, I think about 150 people responded, they responded yes to if there are too many industry events that not only consume your time, but your financial resources. So it seems to me like there's definitely a large number of people in the industry who feel like there's just a bit too many going on. However, I thought it was interesting in some of these LinkedIn posts that were discussing this article and this topic, there were a lot of people who spoke up saying that, it really depended on, what their intent was, what their job is, what their goals are. It seems like those are in sales. It's the more the merrier. Some said that it's not necessarily the number of events, it's that a lot of events are lacking in what they want, or lacking in intention or quality. So maybe there's a quantity versus quality problem going on. So another thing that Barbara pointed out in the article, which I thought was interesting, is some of the things that make a time-strapped planner say yes to an event is quality education or like an opportunity to learn certification. Also, networking is another important feature that would make them say yes or go to an event, choosing one over another. Also, they didn't necessarily, some people didn't turn up their nose, if it meant meeting with suppliers, if they knew that that destination was on their short list or consideration set for a future event. So I thought that was interesting too. It just really depends on what's being offered and if whether or not they're going to get a lot out of it. But I wanted to expand this question. I thought that, we could talk about industry events, but from a strategy perspective for a planner or an organizer, is less more? Is it more impactful, do you think, to focus on fewer events? Or are there times when more is better, say if sales are the goal versus education? Maggie, I'd love to hear your opinion on that since you've, worked in the industry for a long time. But Kate, I see your hand is up. What are you thinking about?
So I just wanted to go back real quick to what you were saying about the original LinkedIn poll that inspired this article in Skift. So I looked at it. And so, first of all, I think it's interesting that the person who posted this is Joe Feehole, who is the principal of Ethos Event Collective, because he's a supplier. And I was surprised by this sentiment coming in from a supplier. And this is what he said was like kind of exactly the question that you just framed for us. This week has brought to light the challenges within our industry, showcasing the struggle many of us face with conflicting events and commitments. The demand for travel, learning opportunities, networking, and conducting business has reached a boiling point. The current scenario has left numerous suppliers again, feeling overwhelmed and stretched thin. So it seems like if even the suppliers are saying this is too much of a good thing, then we have reached a stage where we have to start culling. And then the second thing I would say is just that this only had 50 responses to the poll. So it was like very easy to take the percentages. So there's only one person who said there aren't enough events, five people who said it's just about right, and then 44 people who said there are too many. But again, this data is coming from whoever's connected to this guy on LinkedIn. So it's like a little bit anecdata. And so again, like you, I would love to hear what Maggie thinks from the planner perspective about is this too many or just right?
Yeah, I don't think the answer is clear cut. So I don't think there is a yes or no. I do believe the answer lies in the model of industry events rather than if there are too many or too little, because currently we rely on the suppliers to pay the money, right? So especially when we're putting it in the context of IMAX and such. So they have to invest heavily to be on the show floor. And these monies support all the host buyers that go and, they meet. And that's why in the article in Skift, somebody said, you have to profile planners very carefully, check on their piece of business. Sometimes they inflate it. 100% true. All of it. Some people just use the hosted by opportunities to go on vacations. And we know that. I believe it's happening less and less after COVID now because people are a bit more strategic. But this whole model just prompts us in this kind of a wrong mindset, I would say. So neither is doing business well. The expectations are such that when you have the suppliers invest in shows like IMAX, then they really, really want to meet with procurement. And I'm thinking in the PCO model where you have a procurement department, these people are actually sourcing the hotels, the venues, the destinations. So they need to know everything in detail. These people, though, they're being pulled in all these different directions because they are the key to association business. But then you have all these other departments that need the industry events. So you have the marketing, you have association management, you have all these bits and pieces that make up the other departments in a PCO model again, who need to attend these industry events. And then it becomes hard because how can you go as a marketing person to IMX? You have to fake to be a hosted buyer or rely on the kindness of IMX and the like to host a big group from that set PCO. So you can also attend, so you can get the industry education, you can get the connections and everything else. So I believe the problem is in the model rather than how many events we have and how they're profiled. They really try to connect just two kinds of people and there's no space for the rest. And that's why the model breaks. Rather, if we were a bit more strategic, and now I'm thinking of SEMA and SEMA Summit, and I'm very disappointed I didn't know about SEMA and SEMA Summit when I was in marketing, because that's a brilliant event for marketing people, but it's, especially a few years ago, it was so much more locked into the US and or North America and, lacking in Europe. So that would have been the perfect answer when I was in marketing, but I didn't know. So satisfying the different needs of all those different roles in events would be perfect through different events. So then we would need more events to do that successfully. So it's a bit like also then you have independent planners who try to do everything. So, but their needs are also so unique that just one event, one big trade show probably won't satisfy it. So probably I just put more questions and answers out there, but I feel that, yeah, we need to be rethinking the models and how we create these events. What are the needs that they answer?
I think that's so interesting the way you frame that, and it kind of points to that we actually do need more events. We just need more targeted niche events, it sounds like.
Hmm.
And it does seem like we're kind of heading in that direction industry-wide. Do you think we're starting to see, like, more of that? I feel like anecdotally when
Yeah.
I'm looking at, like, calendars, I'm starting to see that, which makes sense. I think we see that in, like, other areas of business too. Like I feel like publishing and our world of journalism, I'm starting to see more niche publications come out. But yeah, I think that's interesting. So maybe this kind of these huge massive events, maybe aren't, they're great for those, like you said, who fit that kind of traditional model of buyer and supplier, but we need these kind of more specialized, targeted events to kind of satisfy where everyone else is in between not getting what they need out of it. So
And
that's interesting.
that makes me think also of that episode we did with what was it? That women only event for creatives. Jen, I think you brought it up again. I'm blanking on the name.
I'm blanking on it too, but I know it's like somewhere in my brain.
I'll link it in the show notes in any case. The creative something. Anyway, so that community and how it became an event, I think that's why these events are so successful because they're so narrowly targeting specific people.
Mhm.
And that was for women who are in the creative economy. So it was,
Oh, was that Create and Cultivate that we chatted
yes,
about
yes,
before?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, which is actually quite a large event, but it is a little bit
Yeah.
niche. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
And that's why such events are so successful, just because they know exactly who they are for and what they're bringing. While in those, when you create an event for everybody, it's like it becomes hard. And now,
It's for
especially,
nobody. Yeah,
yeah,
it's kinda like branding and marketing. I see a lot of destination marketing doing the same thing, and I wish destinations wouldn't do that because I think when you say the same 5 things over and over is, "We've got great food, culture, space, blah, blah, blah," you know what I mean? Like, you're not differentiating yourself, and by speaking to everyone, you speak to no one. You can't be
exactly.
afraid, yeah, to be original, be unique.
Yeah.
Say what's, different about your destination, about your show, whatever, yeah, but I
And
think people are
that's,
afraid to do that. And it seems like from what a lot of people were saying that were quoted in the article that were commenting on these posts, they're really looking for something specific, like, they need a good reason to take 3 days off work. Like, it can't just be, "Oh, we'll get a little networking," and, like, like she was saying, like, if I wanna go and get a certification or, like, check off my CMP credit, whatever, that's giving someone good reason. But it seems like that's, like, the exception to some of these events and not the rule from a planner perspective.
I think that's why that person quoted that specific destination also in the article, because she tied it to something very specific that fit her need and was memorable and was different. And now she has a specific destination in mind, no matter what, which is
Mhm,
exactly what you want at the end of the day. You don't
mhm,
want to be one of the many that I met at IMX and didn't stand
mm.
out. One of the many tired salespeople, because at some point on day 3, let's face it, that's who you meet. Very tired salespeople that are doing the same pitch over and over again. And sometimes you do that to people that are really not interested to hear because they're not there
Yeah,
for that. They're
yeah.
just there to, tick it off. Thank you for
Okay.
the conversation. Yeah, we'll do it again.
Alright, thanks, guys. Bye.
Remember to subscribe to the Convene podcast on your favorite listening platform to stay updated with our latest episodes. For further industry insights from the Convene team, head over to pcma.org/convene. My name is Maggie. Stay inspired, keep inspiring, and until next time.